Hey folks, my name is Mallory Swordglen, and I lead our product marketing team here at Okta, and more specifically for the Auth0 platform for customer identity and access management, or CIAM if you're really into acronyms, which given the audience is product folks, I feel like you probably are very inundated in acronyms like the rest of us. But today I want to talk about something that's probably on a lot of your roadmaps, and if it's not on your roadmap, it may be something that you already are working on, and that is AI agents. So we'll talk a little bit about how to build those securely and also how to future-proof them for whatever is to come in the future. Before we get into it, just a couple of slides, safe harbor slides. So some of the stuff that we will demo that we'll talk about is forward-looking. So just make sure you consider that in any of your purchasing processes or things like that. And then since we do have a demo, I want to disclaim that we do use some fictitious information, a fictional company in there that you'll see a little bit more about. Not a real company, totally fictitious. And now let's get into it now that we've gone through the safe harbor and all of that. So quick roadmap for today. First, we're going to define what we actually mean by AI agents. It's good to level set, make sure we're all on the same page, talking about the same thing. From there, we'll talk about where things can go wrong from a security standpoint when you're building AI agents and GenAI applications. And then after that, we will walk through what we have been working on for some time to help solve that problem. And then we'll wrap it up at the end with a quick demo that I have for all of you guys. So first of all, let's start with the GenAI landscape. So what we really know here is that GenAI is moving really fast. You've probably already seen teams, even in your own organizations or others, that are experimenting with agents that can talk to users or that can trigger workflows and make autonomous decisions on behalf of users. And so what's important to note is that it's not just chatbots anymore. This stuff is really becoming a part of how apps actually do things and how they accomplish work. And this timeline here, what you're looking at, this shows really how quickly we've actually gone from that early neural language models to where we are today. And while it may seem like it's all moved very fast and only happened over the last 2 years or so, it's actually been something that's growing over time. And so this shift from models being somewhat passive to what we're seeing now, which is this world of potentially AI agents where they're more active and have access to things and again, making decisions. That's the big unlock, but it's also the big risk area that we're seeing here. And everyone is really betting big on AI and AI agents. So we have here, Gartner says that half of enterprises will have a GenAI app in production by next year. And then whether that is internal tools or customer-facing apps, you can see in the stats here, that it's becoming the new interface. And it's sort of like the mobile shift that happened, right? When we started to see the rise of iPhones and people accessing things from phones and tablets and needing to really cater to that experience. And that's happening, but it seems like it's happening a little bit faster than that shift did. So let's go ahead and define what an agent here is. So you can think of an agent as something that can talk to people. I'm going to build this slide out for you so you can see it. Something that can talk to people, something that can actually understand the context of the conversation and of the users. Really importantly, an agent is able to call APIs, oftentimes on behalf of a user. And then based on that, it's able to actually take actions on behalf of the user. And then critically, it's able to do all of this without a human that's really monitoring all of this, hovering over it, and watching everything that it does. And so this autonomy is really powerful. It's really exciting. There's a lot of really cool use cases that we've all seen probably floating around out there. But what it also means is that you need really strong trust boundaries for these AI agents. So done right, these agents can make your apps a lot more useful to end users. It can enable faster decision-making. It can automate a lot of the boring stuff that maybe exists in your role or that your users have to go through. It can provide them a much better user experience by using natural language and chat functionality. You'll see a little bit of that in the demo app that we've built. But you're also introducing, of course, a ton of new complexity with GenAI apps and AI agents, and especially around how these agents act on user data, how they access user data, what kind of data they are accessing, and how they make decisions and how those decisions are supervised, and just a ton of additional risk and complexity that's introduced here. And that is exactly where things start to get really interesting. Most of the excitement around agents tends to skip over the how do we secure this. Everyone is really trying to move fast and experiment and build these GenAI apps and these AI agents. But if your agent is sending emails, if it's updating records, or in some cases, even touching PII, you need real controls in place. And what you see here on this slide is people are realizing that, and they're starting to think about what that means for their applications and for security. Now, authentication, of course, it isn't new, right? When we think about authentication of GenAI apps, AI agents, authentication is not new. We've evolved from, as I mentioned earlier, from web applications to mobile apps, all the way now to using APIs. But AI agents are just introducing new patterns in that authentication flow. So now it's not just users calling APIs, it's agents doing that for them on their behalf. And sometimes it takes AI agents, days or even weeks to do some of their work. And it's doing that sometimes in a chain of other tools. So what that means is that the old authentication patterns we've kind of relied on and built, they don't fully cover this kind of dynamic and autonomous nature of GenAI apps and agents. And that is exactly why we have built Auth for GenAI. So we believe that to get AI security right, that all starts with identity and authentication. And so Auth for GenAI gives you the building blocks to handle those identity and permissions when you're dealing with AI agents. And how do we develop this? Well, we have been talking to customers for some time. We've been building our own examples, our own applications internally. And we found in these conversations and in these experiments that we've been running, there are 4 key things you need to get right when you're securely building GenAI apps. And so I want to break down really quickly those 4 things for you. And then again, we'll show you how they all come together in a demo. So the first piece here is really around authentication. And that means knowing who the user is. Before an agent does anything, executes any tasks, or does any work, it needs to know who it's acting on behalf of. And just like any other app, that means it has to authenticate that user, whether that is a shopper that's trying to check out, or maybe it's a doctor that's accessing a patient file. This authentication process needs to be really seamless and really easy, but also still really secure. And you can't have any shortcuts when it comes to this. The second piece here is all about calling APIs and acting on a user's behalf. So AI agents, they don't click buttons and operate in UIs. They're really primarily calling APIs to do their work. That means that they need to act as the user with the right context and scope. So if you don't lock that down, they could hit the wrong endpoints, they could access data that they shouldn't, or they could just fail altogether and not be able to do the task or the job that they've been given to do. So that delegated access to them and that ability to be able to securely call APIs on behalf of the user becomes really crucial and really important. The third piece here is around what we are calling async interactions. And that's all about handling long-running tasks. So sometimes agents are not working in real time. Sometimes it may take, just like humans, it may take a while for them to complete their tasks. Maybe they need to wait for a certain piece of data. Maybe they need to loop in a human for an approval or things like that. Or maybe they even need to call another system, and that may take some time. So what that does is it creates a gap, and that user session might be over, but that agent still needs the ability to act and to do things. And so your authentication system has to support just-in-time access and async interactions without leaving things wide open and introducing more of that security risk. And then the fourth thing here, we're already at the fourth thing. I told you I'd go through them really fast and then get to the demo. The fourth is all about respecting user permissions and authorization. Not all agents are created equal. Some of them might just need to read data. Some of them might need to go in and update records. And a few might even be making real-time decisions. They might be doing things like approving a refund for a customer or triggering a workflow or approving a mortgage, all kinds of use cases out there. So what you need to do is make sure that that agent only has the access that it needs. No more access and no less. If less access, they can't do their job. And you need to be able to do that in a really dynamic way. As things change, whether that's a role, a policy, risk levels, all of that, those permissions need to be able to keep up dynamically with that AI agent. And so these are what we see as a recap as the 4 requirements to build GenAI applications. And this is, again, through the conversations that we have had with folks. It's done through our experience experimenting with different applications. And this is held true in a lot of different settings and conversations, whether that's big Fortune 500 enterprises, all the way to 2-person startups and really everyone in between. So these requirements really hold true no matter what kind of company you're working at if you're building these GenAI applications. So as a result of all of this, we've focused on creating a new product that really makes it easy for developers to solve these requirements. Now at Auth0, we have always looked to make it really easy to implement identity, authentication, and authorization into your applications, even before GenAI was a thing. And apps that leverage GenAI are no exception. We know that it is our duty to help our customers secure these applications and implement authentication and authorization. So we set out to solve these problems using the standards and industry best practices that we just talked about. So Auth0 GenAI solves these requirements and makes it really easy to build these apps securely. It's a suite of features that enables you to securely allow your AI agents to authenticate users, to call APIs on a user's behalf, have those asynchronous interactions, and use authorization for retrieval augmented generation, or as we know and love it, RAG. And so with that, I want to take it for a spin and I want to show you, this is a recorded demo of a fictitious app that we created of how this all comes together and how it would all work and how Auth0 GenAI powers it behind the scenes. So with that, let's go ahead and go to the next slide and I will play this for you. Today, we're going to walk you through how a developer can securely build AI agents with Auth0 GenAI. Let's get started with the developer side. First of all, Market0 is a fictitious AI-powered trading assistant. Investors can retrieve stock prices, find investor events, and execute trades. So security is critical here. Auth0 GenAI makes integrating AI securely out of the box really easy. As a developer, I can get started by quickly creating an Auth0 account with a few clicks. I'm taken to a quick start page where I can select my use case. We'll just finish the login flow here. And now we're at the quick start page. We're going to get started with user authentication. From here, I can select my preferred language, and I'll get step-by-step instructions for setting this up in my app. Once I'm done here, Market0 can securely provide real-time market data, execute trades on behalf of investors, and integrate with third-party APIs while maintaining strict access controls. Let's see what it all looks like when an investor interacts with Market0. And remember, Auth0 GenAI is working behind the scenes to power all of these functionalities. So let's go ahead and take it for a spin. I'm tracking Zico stock, and I want to see the latest stock price. Let's go ahead and ask Market0 for that stock price. It's going to securely retrieve that real-time market data for me and even visualize it for me in the UI. Let's do some research on Zico and see if it's actually a good investment. Market0 can generate this forecast using retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, on public earnings documents. Now, it's really important to note that behind the scenes, this is leveraging Auth0 fine-grained authorization. And that is ensuring that the documents used to generate this forecast data are only those that I actually have access to. Now, this forecast data is a really good start, but I'd like some more in-depth analysis on Zico. Here, I can go ahead and subscribe to the Market0 newsletter, and with that comes access to additional analyst forecasts. Now, when I ask Market0 for a forecast summary, I'm going to get even more insights because I have access to more documents and more information. Now, what happened here? When I subscribed to the Market0 newsletter, it changed all of the documents that I had access to. I now have access to way more documents and analyst reports. FGA handled all of the permission checks behind the scenes. You can imagine how important something like this would be for someone in a highly regulated industry where you want to make sure AI agents are only accessing the documents that a user actually has access to. All right, so let's move on. What if I want to automate a trade when a specific condition is met? Well, Market0 can do that too. Let's go ahead and ask it to buy more shares of Zico if the PE ratio falls below, let's say 15. Now, We don't know when or if the PE ratio will fall below 15. That could be in a few minutes, could be in a few days, it could even be months from now. It may never even happen. But Market Zero is going to continuously monitor that price in the background. And then when that condition is met, it can actually send me a notification to approve the trade. I'm going to be asked to enroll in async authentication. So we'll go ahead and set that up. Super easy. I can scan the QR code on my device. This is using the Auth0 Guardian app, and then complete the enrollment. Super easy, super fast. So back to my investment. I'd like to also keep up with Zico, and I want to be reminded of upcoming events that I might need to tune into. So first of all, let's see what events are actually coming up. We'll ask Market Zero to provide that data for us, and it'll quickly retrieve those events and it'll show us the events that are coming up. But to take this a step further, I want to stay organized. I want to add some of these events to my Google Calendar. To do that, I'm going to need to give Market Zero access to my calendar. But I want to control what kind of access Market Zero has. That's easy enough. Market Zero can securely access that Google Calendar API, and I can easily allow the level of access that I want. In this case, I want to be able to read and write calendar events. So I go ahead and approve that. Now, if we look at it, Market Zero is able to, again, access that Google Calendar API behind the scenes in a really secure way. And I stayed in control of what access Market Zero has to my calendar. And these events are now added to my calendar. All right, and look at this. So that alert that we set up earlier, that we wanted to buy more Zico if the PE ratio dropped below 15, well, it looks like that condition has just been met. So what happened here is Market Zero sent me a notification request on my phone to approve that trade, just because this may be an alert that maybe I set it up months ago and I actually am not interested in that trade anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. I am still interested in that trade. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to approve that. And I would get confirmation that the trade went through. And that's it. And that was powered behind the scenes by Auth for GenAI, specifically with our client-initiated back channel authentication, also known as CIBA, sending that alert to my phone and allowing me to approve it really easy. And it should be worth noting that all of this reduced drastically the lines of code that my developer had to use to get this all set up. So to recap, we just saw how Auth for GenAI can help with authenticating users, controlling AI agent access, making sure it has access to all the right resources, and then making sure it can securely call APIs on behalf of users and adding human checks for sensitive AI actions. And that is Auth for GenAI. All right. So very cool demo. I hope that it came through. That's just one example of how Auth for GenAI can power your applications, allow you to implement these controls and do it in a really secure way and help your developers do it in a really efficient way as well. So to wrap up, to bring a full circle here. So what did we learn today? Well, we know that security needs to build into the foundation of AI when you're building it into the application. It really cannot be an afterthought. And with Auth for GenAI, what we see when we're talking to customers, best-in-class customers are really able to do three things. So they can add AI to applications, and they can do that while making things more secure and not adding any additional friction. They can enable those applications to scale as this agent ecosystem grows. At this point, I think we're all wondering what it's going to bring and how big it's going to get. And so with authentication and authorization, something like Auth for GenAI, you at least don't have to worry about the identity part of that because it can grow and scale with you. And then third, making sure developers are equipped with the best identity tooling so that they can focus on building these apps instead of, being experts in security and being bogged down by all of that, because all of that is helped and handled with something like Auth for GenAI. So we learned a lot today. We saw a demo. How can you get started? What should you do next? Well, you can head on over to auth0.ai. And you could actually start experimenting with this today, get in there, play around a little bit, see what you can do. And we also have a lot more updates that are coming. Our vision for Auth for GenAI, we are seeing big things and we are constantly talking to customers and figuring out how we can make this better. And so make sure you stay posted and look for updates on our blog for, what's new, how we're thinking about AI and all of that. So thanks so much for coming today. Really appreciate your time. Hope this was helpful and hope you get a chance to play around with Auth for GenAI.